Welcome to Retrotopia, the retro gaming time machine where nostalgia loads one chunky voxel at a time. I'm your host Brian, and this is episode 135. And adventurers, sharpen your pixelated swords because we're heading into a kingdom where every tree, slime, and hero looks like it was built one cube at a time. This week we're diving headfirst into the charmingly blocky world of 3D Game Heroes, a game where retro fantasy collides with modern parody in a glorious explosion of giant swords, hidden caves, dungeon puzzles, and unapologetic love for the golden age of action RPGs. So get ready for heroic speeches, suspiciously familiar legends, and enough old school references to make any retro gamer point at the screen like that one Leonardo DiCaprio meme, because today we're saving the kingdom one dot at a time. As always, if you're here just for the game chat, head about 30 minutes down the road and you should run right into it, but we hope you stay because we like to have a little bit of fun with these intros. But before we get to the fun, we always have to get the plugs out of the way. So if you could rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast, it helps us grow and be seen in the algorithm. You can also find all our social media at linktree/Retrotopia. That's linktr.ee/Retrotopia. That includes a link to our Dashery store, or you can go to retrotopia.dashery.com where you can buy merchandise if you want to support the show that way. Or if you're just listening, you're supporting the show well enough. But if you want to get in on the fun and you take part in some of the comments and extra shows and stuff, you can do so at our Patreon, where you can join for free. And if you join for free, you can take part in the polls, which we have the episode 150 RPG poll up right now. And so far, it's looking like one is just eking its way to the front of the entire pack. But there's still time to go. There's still about another week and a half left before that ends, and you still can get in there and vote for what RPG you would like us to review for episode 150, which is in about 15 weeks. You also get to chat with the hosts. You can send us a message there. You can join our Discord through that and send us a message on Discord. We're very active and have a very nice community. You also get to write in about the game of the week right to the host in the 9-bit banter box. You get our extra show Quick Play, which is a short review series, and you get Retro Bites 15 days early and an extra video topic that myself and Joe have been doing for the last few months, and it seems to be working out quite well, even though Joe is probably going to tear his hair out from the stress of doing it. But, that's him, not me. You also can join the Hero tier for just $2 a month, and there you get to select a game for a host review on Quick Play. You also get our once-a-month show, which is going pretty well at that rate now, New Game Plus, and you get to get a shout-out like our newest heroes, AB Killing and Venom1438. Welcome, and thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us. But with all of that out of the way, it is now time that we give you, the audience, a chance to write into the host on what we call the 9-bit banter box, which is culturally elegant. First up on the 9-bit banter box, we have I Pit My Chance, who asks, Brian, how often do people call you Brain? Not as much as you'd think. Calling somebody a brain tends to be a compliment, and yeah, I'm not smart enough to be a brain. I've called myself Brain. I've actually written down Brain instead of Brian more times than I can count. It's amazing how you can become fully dyslexic on your own name by simply switching 2 words. I've had Alan call me Brain. He's wrote my name out that way, which I appreciate. He thinks I'm smart and good looking and stuff like that. Thank you, Alan. And I just, most of my life, I'm let's call myself what I am. I am follically superior. I'm rouged haired, as I like to call it. Ginger, as the slang goes. And most of my life, that has been the focus of my ridicule, is my red hair. So, yeah, nobody calls me Brain because that might accidentally make people think I'm smart. Everybody calls me Ginger or Carrot Top or other sort of twisted words like that in order to make me feel bad about myself. Fortunately, I'm too arrogant for that. Thanks very much for the comment. Next up, we got Blue Yoshi 94, who says, what are the best and worst things to put on toast? Wow. It's been a while since I've had toast, actually. All right, so my go-to is if I'm having breakfast, I'm going to just have butter on the toast, because I use the toast to sop up the egg yolk. So I guess egg yolk on toast would be the other thing of that equation. I'm a sucker for peanut butter, like chunky peanut butter especially. Just straight up peanut butter. When I was young, and my brother gets grossed out by this, but I'll get my revenge eventually here in the comment section, I used to put butter and then peanut butter on top of that to make like an overly buttery toast. Probably the reason I see the doctor more often than I should. I also can go with jam. Actually, a toasted peanut butter and jam sandwich is actually pretty good. And then you got the classic grilled cheese, which I guess is not technically toast, but if you're poor enough, you can put the toast or the cheese in between the toast as it comes out of the toaster and hope to God it melts in time. Things I don't like on toast. Worst things, mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is gross, even if you want to call it a mayonnaise-like spread. And if you know, you know. What else? It's not Vegemite. That's the Australian thing I want to try. What's it called? It's a Quebec thing. It's creton, I think it's called. It's like a salty meat. They put it on, like they spread it on their toast. Oh, just turns me right off. Not a big fan of marmalade, but I don't call that gross. It's not the worst thing you could put on there. I mean, the worst thing you could probably put on a toast is ketchup or mustard. Then again, you make a sandwich. You know what? I don't think there's really anything bad you can put on toast. Put avocado, it's good. I mean, if you like mayonnaise, it's probably good. What would not go on toast? I got nothing. There's no bad way to have toast. I'm calling it now. Toast is like the perfect base for anything you want to shove into your mouth. Put gravy on toast? Sure, why not? I mean, there's like after Thanksgiving or after Christmas meals there where you have leftover turkey, so you put a piece of bread down, like toasted bread, and you put the turkey on top and some gravy. I mean, so gravy on toast works. Just because the turkey's an in-between doesn't mean it's still not gravy on toast. Kind of like poutine is just me eating curds with gravy on top of it with the fries as an intermediate, so people don't think I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. There's nothing bad you can put on toast. If you can think of something, let us know in the Discord. Or write in a comment. Yes. Alright, so Sergeant Ombre, and wow, I picked my chance. You better pay attention to this person because Sergeant Ombre says, "Hey Brain, did your quick play of Hooters Road Trip include a real-life trip to Hooters? Is that place still open?" I don't know, and I'm going to pause and just do a quick search. Alright, I'm back from my pause. I just looked it up, and there is still Hooters out there. There is about 5 in Canada, mostly 2 in Toronto, 1 in Montreal, 1 in Winnipeg, and 1 in Saskatoon. So they are still out there, and most of the ones in the United States are now on the eastern seaboard in New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania area. The ones in the Hooters game, I think there's only 1 or 2 of them left over from the map, if I remember correctly. So they're out there, it's just not as many as there used to be. But I've been to a Hooters. I've been to the one in Montreal there, where when you can get all-you-can-eat wings for $9.99 if you bought a drink. It was a good time. Topped out at 75 wings one night. That was a marathon. Thank you very much. So moving on, we got the big deal. It says, "I am currently replaying South Park The Fractured Butthole and forgot how amazing this game was. I have to imagine that you, Captain RPG, have played it with your love of the genre and the source material. I would like to hereby nominate an episode of Retrotopia, not just because it's such an awesome game, but also I think the banter between you fine gents would make for one entertaining episode." A little fact, first episode we had Alan do anything for the show was on the Stick of Truth. He did the cold open intro for us, so we do have plans to someday get to the Fractured Butthole, but currently it's not on the roster. Maybe we'll see what we can do before the end of the year. I've played the game through and through about 3 or 4 times already. It is probably one of the most accessibly best RPGs out there of the current age. They did it so well, and of course the world of South Park is just hilarious. I'm a huge fan of South Park. I'm not surprised you're having fun with it. The Fractured Butthole is a lot better than the Stick of Truth was, even though the Stick of Truth is still a banger of a game. So yeah, I'll bring it up to the boys at the next board meeting we have there. We're currently already planned up to episode 149 and I'm waiting on a poll for 150, so probably won't be before that. The next block in, well, I guess 15 weeks from now is all set up and stuff, but you never know. I'm kind of getting the itch. Thank you very much, and next we have the Incredible Hooli, who says, "Brian, good sir, I was wondering, when does the sexy Retrotopia calendar come out? Simple, when we can find 12 sexy Retrotopians. You think Alan and Sam and myself and Joe are going to sit there and whore ourselves out for a calendar? No, we want a calendar of you. Send Alan your sexiest pictures you can. Less clothes, the better. Don't blur anything out. Send him all your pictures through the Discord, and he'll respond to each one with a rating." Alright, thanks, Hooli. Next up we have Munchie, who says, "Mr. Canada himself. Now, I know you're a beer fan, but do you have any sort of preference for style of beer such as IPA, stout, ale, etc.? Yes, I do. I'm quite partial to something heavy and dark like a stout, but like something lighter in the summer. Also, though I'm from the States, I prefer Molson's to Miller or Budweiser. Now, in the States, Molson has joined forces with Coors, so I believe the company is actually named Molson Coors, and this is how they distribute an American beer up here and Canadian beer down there. Actually, it's also something that exempted American beers from the current all-American booze off the shelves-a-thon we're having going on here in Ontario, because technically Molson is a Canadian distributor. I do have a preference of beer. Actually, it's kind of funny. The pub I go to all the time keeps running out of the beer that, I'm currently drinking, so I started with Blue Moon at the place. They switched to Molson as their distributor, which got rid of Blue Moon and put Hoegaarden as its replacement. Hoegaarden is a deliciously light wheat beer, and they keep running out of that because they can't get it supplied because the distributor here doesn't seem to want to give it to them. So they ran out of that, so I switched to a local beer, a local brewery called Mill Street, and it was called 100 Meridian after that. Oh god, I can't remember the name of the band. Alright, you might have heard a jarring cut there. That was me looking up the name of the band. The band is called the Tragically Hip, and they were insanely popular here in Canada. I don't think they ever broke out of our borders, but the lead singer of it, probably like 10 years now. 10 years ago, he ended up getting brain cancer and did a farewell tour that just exploded, and this whole country just felt like they lost, one of the best musicians ever. I'm not particularly a fan of their music, but that's not what this is about. This is about the beer. So the beer is called 100 Meridian, and it's an amber, which is my second go-to. I start with wheats. Ambers are my second. I've been enjoying ambers. They have some great flavors. They ran out of that, so I had to switch to another local craft brewery amber, which I'm currently on. So I keep keep tapping out the pub, and they keep not being able to supply my drinking habit. Now, to be more specific to your question, I do prefer IPAs. I do have actually levels of IPAs. The higher the alcohol content, or the strong IPAs are like 10%, 8%. I can't stomach those because I can drink like one of those and then I tap out for the night. I'm not a big fan of stouts, but I don't hate them. I just have to really be in the mood for a stout. Ales are good. The ales are my go-to if IPAs aren't available, and sometimes I just swap them around. Wheat beers are my first place right now. I'm currently in a wheat beer fixation. I like Blue Moon, 1664, which is a French beer from France. Hoegaarden, which I don't know where it comes from. Sounds German, probably Austria or something. But that's a really good wheat beer. And anything that's a craft wheat beer. A local brewery called Three Brewers, or Trois Barcels in Quebec. I probably butchered the accent there. They have their own brewery in-house, and currently they have a raspberry wheat ale. And if your name is McGee, you understand how much I love my raspberry wheat ale. So they have one here because he has failed to bring me raspberry wheat every time he has visited in the last 2 years. And I hope you're listening to this because I love you. Anyways, I'm not a big fan of lagers, except for in the summer. I will take a lime lager. Like Bud Light Lime is surprisingly good because it's light and refreshing in the middle of summer when it's hot. Other than that, I don't particularly like lagers. So that is pretty much my hierarchy. Pilsners I don't touch at all. I don't know, something about a Pilsner just turns me off. Probably tastes fine, I don't like the name Pilsner. So I hope that answers your question in the way that you can feel satisfied. If not, we'll go grab a beer and we'll do a tasting. Grab a flight of beer and try them all, right? That's the best way to do it. Thanks very much. Finally, we have Fill Up My Mouth with Farts, who says, what is something gaming related that you would love to obtain but can't for whatever reason? Whether it be cost, size of the item you want, or absolute rarity of the item. For me, I want one of those full-size stand-up arcade machines with all the games installed. The cost is not the biggest issue, but the size is too prohibitive. Every time I see one, I think about it, I just don't have the space, and it makes me feel sad. You don't need minor things like a bed, so you do have space, you're just not trying hard enough. If you have kids, you can get rid of their beds in their room. They can sleep on the floor beside the arcade machine that's always on. Because you don't turn that stuff off, you lose your high scores. For me, retro video game consoles, that's my big jam. I would love to actually have one of every retro video game console, or one of every console, all lined up in a nice little cabinet there with appropriate sized TVs for them. I currently would love to get a copy in box in decent condition of Chrono Trigger with instruction manual and all the guts inside of it. I've owned one copy of Chrono Trigger, and me and my brother, I believe, were gifted for Christmas a copy of Chrono Trigger, which I ended up selling both of them, once because I was a stupid young guy, which my brother will kill me for one day, as is our pact, and the other was because, raising a kid was expensive and I had to sacrifice my retro video game, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo games, which really sucks because I had some bangers of RPGs in there, and it took me a long time to hunt those down. I always thought I could just hunt it all down again, but then now prices are out of control. A Sega Saturn is something I wouldn't mind, not so much because I'm a huge Saturn head, or Saturnian as it's called in another Discord, but because there's a couple of games on there that have piqued my interest, and I would love to try them. So I currently emulate it, but I just don't think I'm getting the full experience without a proper Saturn controller. Some people have given me some controllers to look up. Just got to worry about the financial situation. So that's probably the thing that's making it too prohibitive for me. But I think I know what you're talking about, Mr. My Mouth with Farts, is the Meat Maim Machine. Because I remember those being a thing where you had every arcade, like 10,000 arcade games on it. But I would love one of those as well. I also don't have the room for a stand-up arcade machine, and my kid is not old enough to kick out of the house yet, so maybe in a few years. Alright, so that does it for the 9-Bit Banter Box. As always, thank you everybody for writing in. I always have fun with these. I always like to try to challenge myself by not preparing an answer for them, because I think it's more fun to be a little off the cuff. Sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes it does. I think I felt really good about this one this time, but thanks, those great questions. And of course, that means it's time to reset the monkey paw, because it's time for the Retrotopia game show. Choose one, lose one.
Ladies and gentlemen, roll up and choose your power-up from the game of the week. You pick a power, we pick a consequence. It's choose one, lose one, the game where everyone's a loser.
I didn't expect a lot of responses this week because I don't know if a lot of people know about this game, and I got 3 responses, and we start with Munchie, who says, well, I would like the world to be dots. Okay, the world looks like dots too completely, but they're those dots that sit in your vision just outside of it. You can never focus on. You always see them, but you always move to look at them, and they always move with your eyes. Think of that, except for everything is a dot, so you can never focus on anything because they're always just in your peripheral, and you go crazy. Next up, we have Sergeant Ombre, who says, I watched a YouTube video about this game. I want to be made of 3D pixels and be able to be put back together when I fall apart. Very well. You are now made entirely of pixels and can be put back together, and everybody finds out about that. So that means that whenever they have frustration, they take it out on you by assaulting you with a 2x4 or whatever they can find to smash you into pieces. But since you come back together, the police won't do anything to help you because they assume because you come back together that you are in good health and good condition. Biggest problem, it takes you about 12 hours to reform yourself from a smashed pixelated state, so there goes your weekend. Finally, we have I Pit My Chance, who says, I'm not even aware of what this is. Can I change all the printers in the world to dot matrix? Well, okay, I kind of low-key like dot matrix printers. I think they're neato burrito. What could be a counter to this? The monkey paw finger is down, and I mean, outside of the fact that you wouldn't be able to print anything of quality ever again in our lives, I can't really think of something to take away from you. I think you've stumped me this week. I guess all I'm going to do is say that all dot matrix ink is now toxic, so every time you touch it, you get diarrhea. And that does it for Choose One, Lose One. Thanks, everybody, as always, for writing in. You always bring some good challenges to this segment, and I always love trying to figure out something to counter them. Now, speaking of countering things, I think it's time to counter my voice with that beautiful voice of Alan in what we call the Gentleman's Interlude.
In the grand age of the PlayStation 3, when gritty realism ruled kingdoms of grey and brown, a tiny cube-shaped hero marched bravely into battle and reminded players that adventure could still be joyful. That legend was 3D Dot Game Heroes, a charming action RPG developed by Silicon Studio and published in Japan by From Software. The game first launched in Japan on November 5th, 2009, before arriving in North America on May 11th, 2010, and Europe on May 14th, 2010. At first glance, the world of Dotnia seems almost absurd. Every castle, tree, dragon, and chicken is built from colourful blocks, like a toy box flung across a fantasy kingdom. But beneath its playful pixel armor beats the heart of a true heroic epic. Ancient evil rises, dark bishops scheme, and only one warrior, armed with a legendary sword capable of becoming hilariously gigantic, can restore peace. The game proudly salutes the golden age of classic adventures, especially the spirit of early fantasy quest games. Dungeons hide traps, monsters lurk in every corner, and secrets practically wink at the player from behind suspicious walls. Yet, 3D Dot Game Heroes never takes itself too seriously. One moment you are battling darkness like a mythical champion. The next, your sword is so enormous it smacks half the screen like an enchanted pool noodle forged by the gods. Its greatest magic lies in how it transforms nostalgia into celebration. Rather than copying the past, it throws a festival for it, complete with humour, customizable heroes, and enough retro charm to make veteran gamers grin like kids discovering treasure under the sofa cushions.
Thank you, Alan. As always, friggin' spot on. Definitely not listening to this after I've already recorded this part. So, now it's time to get into the game, but before we do, we always like to give you a chance to give your thoughts and memories of the game, and we'll start with Blue Yoshi 94, who simply says, "This game looks awesome." We haven't done the recording as of this time, but I know I'm going with that attitude. Munchie says, "This is one of those games I always wanted to try but never got the chance. It always looks so cool." That's actually the whole reason I bought the game, is because it looked cool. And finally, we have Fallen Snow Kiku says, "I've never played this game since I've never owned a PS3, but I'd like to, so I'm hoping for a re-release port at some point. Atlas is fairly decent about re-releasing their old titles after a while. If The Last of Us can get 100 ports, why can't this?" Fair enough. This should be on PlayStation Plus, the premium edition. It honestly should. And I think Sony is big into FromSoft, and that's basically where this comes from, is FromSoft. I believe they're the rights holders. I think Atlas was just the localization team. So maybe one day we'll get it. If we do, it's definitely the time to do it. It's very retro inspired. So I'm going to stop talking because I'm kind of giving away the entire episode here. So with a little bit of music, I'm just going to simply tell you that we're going to be talking about 3D Dot Game Heroes, which was developed by Silicon Studios, published by From Software, and localized by Atlas in North America and South Peak Games in the EU. It was released in May 2010 and is exclusive to the PlayStation 3. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the show. It is time to talk about a 3D dot game here. It's a game that my personal experience with is that nobody's ever heard about this game except for me. I mean, honestly, I don't think I've ever met a second person who's played this game. And considering the way it sold in Japan with 16,000 units, and in North America with only like 160,000 units, it's not hard to see why this game is a little bit more obscure. And it's exclusive to the PlayStation 3 in a time where everybody was championing the Xbox 360. But of course, joining me as always is freshly out of the 2D realm and into the 3D realm, Sam, and of course, my own Dark Bishop, Alan. How are you guys?
Ooh, that's one of the coolest ones I've ever been given, the Dark Bishop.
Dark Bishop.
Yeah, very cool. I'm good. Little bit sleepy, but otherwise pretty good. And I guess, Brian, now you know two other people who have played this game at least.
That is true.
Which means that
I have tripled the amount of knowledge I have on this game.
Hey, there you go.
Which means that 3 people ever have played this game now.
That's what it feels like, because I honestly, I talk to people about this game, and I shit you not, either I get, it looked neat and I was going to pick it up, but I decided not to, or I've never heard of this game at all. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, perhaps there is somebody listening to this show who has actually played it and is very, very excited because, you know, if nobody's ever heard of it, it's quite niche. If that's you listening to this right now, if that's you, then welcome, and we're gonna talk about this game that you hopefully love so much.
Absolutely, and let's start with our history because I know you guys have none, but I do have a couple of lead-in questions for you. So, obviously my history is I bought it when it was brand new. I worked at an EB Games at the time. I saw it on the wall. The artwork was just like, wow, this looks kind of neat. So I purchased it, and guess what? It was really neat. So, did you guys feel like the parody or the homage, did you guys feel like this was a parody, an homage, or like a genuine love letter to classic gaming? Like, did you really get the sense out of that?
Yes, to all of the above. I mean,
Yeah.
Especially in a time before remaking retro games was really popular.
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think history with the game such as it is, like the first time I ever heard about this game was actually, unsurprisingly, from yourself, Brian. Like, I think you mentioned it once back when we were doing Retro Bites, and
I bought my copy not last summer, but the summer before when I was in Edmonton, Alberta. So I've had this on the shelf for over a year, and we finally got to it like 2 years later.
Yeah, you played a video for us, I think, and it just looked really, really cool. And, you know, it's undeniable that as soon as you fire this thing up, like, these Zelda references are just thick and fast. It's almost confusing knowing how litigious Nintendo is as to how they got away with this in the first place. But yeah, no, it is homage, it is parody, it is all of those things. It is really just that love letter to retro games.
But that's how they get away with it. It's a parody of the Zelda franchise. Not to mention you got undertones of other RPGs. Like I got a real Dragon Quest vibe from some of the towns and the music in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the little character, I don't even want to call it a sprite because it is a 3D model, but it's like a Minecraft version of, you know, like what a sprite would look like in 3D. And I did get Dragon Quest vibes too. You know what game I just thought of? What's that one we played that had all the RPG like homages and references or whatever? It was just basically a giant reference.
Fuck.
Think of
It's
that?
another one that Brian brought to the table. What was it called?
Yeah, you remember?
Evil Land.
Evil Land. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me those vibes, but it was like a proto Evil Land. You know, it kind of was its own self-contained thing without being as referential as Evil Land was, and it didn't really switch styles at all. But yeah, really interesting.
Yeah,
kind of like I like the thought that this is like kind of the like modern retro before that was a cool thing.
Yeah.
And also, it did the 2D HD or HD 2D, whatever you want to call it, that style before that became like Square Enix's norm for their retro pixel style games they've been making lately.
Yeah.
So this actually had that blurred background, crisp foreground look that we've all praised this day or like these days.
And the reflections, and the shadows were like not things that were common at the time. It's kind of crazy to the things we take for granted now, but towards the end of the game, you have to go back to the castle and talk to the king once you get all the orbs or whatever. And I was just like, look at this fucking floor. I was like so distracted by the fact that everything was reflected.
I first noticed when you walked out of the first dungeon that as you're walking out, the shadow of From, who is the main character's name if you take the default character, his shadow actually extended against the back wall as you left the dungeon because the light was pouring in through that door. And they didn't have like RTX or any fancy technology to do that. So they actually had to be conscious of making that like shadow with the light.
I also noticed when you come out of a dungeon, like the first like couple seconds that you step out of a door, everything is like overly bright because it's been
the bloom.
That's what that's called. Bloomin' onion.
Bloomin' onion. Oh yeah. Oh, I could go for one of those. I mean, it is just exactly how it would be. We've all done that. We've all gone from like a dingy lit room and stepped out. Well, I mean, every once in a while I leave the games room there and, I see that ball of fire in the sky and for a few seconds I'm very disorientated and everything's just far too bright. And it captured that really, really well. It really is a very good looking game. And considering what it is, I feel like they didn't have to go so hard on some of these effects, but it's really appreciated. Like I would kill for a remake of the very first Legend of Zelda game in this art style. Not necessarily the pixels and the blocks and what have you, but just some of those effects would make that game look so spectacular.
Oh man, like a 2D HD Zelda would be great.
Oh, come on.
Yep, like Link's Awakening.
Well, before we get into the before we get into the full meat and potatoes of the discussion, I'm just going to go over the story real quick of this game. So here's a quick summary that I came up with. It's the kingdom of Dotnia that you are partaking in, which was once a peaceful 2D land protected by these 6 magical orbs. An ancient evil called the Dark Bishop was sealed away long ago, as is tradition in these games. And over time, the kingdom decided to evolve from 2D to 3D to become more modern, which is kind of a running joke throughout the game. So obviously the Dark Bishop's going to return, and he spreads monsters and chaos throughout the land like any good Zelda game would. And then the king asks a young hero to recover those 6 sacred orbs, as, again, any good king would. And so you travel across these dungeons, temples, towns, all the way through Dotnia there. And along the way, the game constantly parodies classic fantasy and RPG storytelling tropes. So the hero, you gain the legendary weapon at the beginning. Like the first thing you do is you pull out the quote-unquote master sword. However, it's not fully powered, so it just becomes your basic first sword outside the wood sword you get. So you get that power to fight these increasingly dangerous enemies, and you'll find more swords as you continue and eventually get the full power of the Master Sword back again, quote-unquote. But the journey will eventually lead you into a final confrontation with the Dark Bishop. So like the whole story mixes the genuine adventure with this like the comedy and nostalgia and like the satire of those classic Legend of Zelda games. And I don't want to get too deep in the story because honestly, now, maybe it was just me, but outside of the beginning intro thing and a few scenes here and there was not a whole lot of the story that really needed much explanation. Get 6 orbs, talk to the king, go fight the Dark Bishop.
It's a very familiar formula to anyone who's ever played a Zelda game. It's just like, and I'm glad you gave that summary because there was a lot of it I didn't remember and I think that's kind of because this game feels so familiar. That was just like, I don't really need to know what's going on. I know how to play this sort of game, you know. Yeah, there are temples around. Each temple is going to give me a MacGuffin, and I collect all of these MacGuffins and then go to the final location to fight the boss. You know, it is Zelda 101, just with a slightly different coat of paint.
And a few more towns. Unlike Zelda, where you only have the one town you tend to go through in Link to the Past, this one at least had like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 towns you could, and a bunch of inns dispersed about the land.
Oh yeah. You know, it is good for interactivity, certainly.
And that's what gave it kind of that like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest feel. Like if you could consider it kind of a mishmash. It is a top-down action game, but there are some of those elements that will feel familiar from just kind of like a standard JRPG.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, the map itself was not that unfamiliar, considering, you know, you never been there before. It had the desert section, it had the lake, it had the forest, it had everything that you're used to in a Zelda game. So
100%. It
Big
looked like
giant
Hyrule.
mountain. Yeah.
yeah, like you could probably transpose it on top of a Zelda map, or you could mix it into the pile, and the teacher would think it's actually the proper homework.
I think it's literally just flipped left to right.
It might
And
be, yeah.
otherwise, it's,
Pretty much,
it's
yeah.
exactly the same. You got the castle in the middle. In one corner at the bottom, you've got the desert. On the other bottom of the corner, you've got the lake, and then all of the nasty shit right up at the top there, all the mountains and what have you. And it's just like, yeah, that is Hyrule to a T.
Right, and as you're moving across the overworld, you'll kind of see there's not a ton, and that might be kind of a gripe of mine later on, but there are some things that you see, like these little posts that you get kind of a hook shot looking thing, and you have to use for that. So there are definitely areas of the map that aren't accessible until you've progressed enough to get those items, and then it opens up more for you.
I love that.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
But I think the star of this entire game is the ridiculously large, overly long and girthy sword that you get.
Yes.
What the fuck
And
was up with that thing? That took me by
that was
surprise.
the point. I never told you that one on purpose, because the first time I played the game, that thing made me laugh. It's like hysterically for a good 5 minutes. The grossness of the size of the sword, and then when of course you upgrade it, you get length and width added to your sword.
Giggity.
Which is a joke unto itself.
Right.
But I mean, just the fact that you can cut 3/4 of the screen with this sword, and that's considered a normal mechanic, and somehow it works really well.
Does. It's crazy because you only really get it when you're at full health. Otherwise, it more or less just turns into a normal sword. But yeah, like you can upgrade. Like I upgraded some of these swords just preposterously, and I was killing enemies that I didn't even know weren't on the screen yet. It was brilliant. And it's funny that you mention about, you know, the whole joke about that thing, because the game itself actually makes that joke. I don't know if either of you guys followed a little quest thread there with the dancing girls, but
I did not.
Well, it's that one town in like the desert. They're looking for entertainment, so you go back to the initial village and you take the dancing girls over there, and it's all well and good. And then later on, you talk to one of the guys in that town. He's like, "I really want one of their autographs." So you go and get an autograph for them, and then take it back to him. And he's just like, "Oh, I have to give you something to reward you. I know, I'll give you something long and girthy." And you're like, "Hello," and hello. Ooh, how's your father? And yeah, he gives you the Geiger sword, and it's just. We were all thinking it, but the game's just yeah, we know how ridiculous these fucking things are, and we're going to make dick jokes about it. And I'm just like, that right there will get it an extra point from me all day long.
I maxed out the original sword you get from the forest, and then it was just like, okay, I remember this being long, and then I got the holy sword, and you could, you know, lengthen it quite a bit further and, you know, girth it. So I maxed those out, because those are always the cheapest ones to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was like half a screen thick and 3/4 of a screen long, and it's like nothing to get through it. And then it was powerful enough to take out pretty much up to every mid-level enemy in the game. It was mind-blowing, and yet somehow I still kept dying in the fire temple.
Oh,
Yeah.
fucking fire temple.
But
There's always
we'll get into those temples in a bit here, because I want to stay on the swords and the items for a bit, because let's get it out of the way.
Sure.
What was your... I don't know, I don't want to say go-to, because you kind of had to play around with them, but what item did you find the most useful? What item did you find the least useful, that out of all the items you got?
I mean, there's lots. There are a lot of items, and a lot of them sort of are just complete facsimiles of items from the Legend of Zelda. I mean, you've got your boomerang, you've got your bow and arrow, you've got your hook shot, and I mean, if I have to pick a favourite, I'm always going to go for a hook shot, because I just think they're cool. And they make traversing... They are probably the item that aids your traversal of the map the most, and I just like the freedom that it gives you. But, I don't know. What was least favourite? I mean, I rarely
Some
used
of the magic
boomerang.
spells for me.
Oh, yeah.
There was one I didn't use at all, actually, come to think
Yeah, there
of
were
it.
a couple of them, actually.
Actually, I only used 3. I used the one that revealed stuff
Yep.
because you had to. That was the way to solve puzzles.
Yeah.
I used the one that reflected the wizard's magic
The most.
and I used the one that froze everything because you had those knights that had shields that you had to hit from behind,
Yep.
and if you just froze them, you could whack them off with the sword.
Yep.
Big, lengthy, girthy sword.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. There was one that pounded the ground or something, but I never found a use for that.
It didn't do anything. I tried to use it a couple times, like, oh, maybe that'll work here, and it just like didn't really do anything. So it was like, well,
Yeah.
fuck this. I'm not
I
using it at
wonder.
all.
I wonder if that in itself is a parody. I wonder if there is actually a use for that spell, or if it's just because you have that little fairy with you, Lee, who's basically your Navi,
Navi.
But also
And,
useless.
but slightly less annoying. But
guess.
she actually mentions at
I'll
one
get
point.
to her annoying part. in a
Oh
second.
yeah, you get to a point in the game where you get one of these spells, and none of them is actually named usefully. And she actually mentions that. She just says like, why can't these, something along the lines of, why can't these spells be named for what they actually do, or something along those lines. I was just
That's
like,
pretty
fucking
funny.
yes, that is a perfect point. Well done.
Obviously some sort of commentary, but one thing annoying about that fairy was 2 dungeons I can think of off the top of my head. You walk into the octopus one, so the aqua dungeon and the fire. I think it's the fire dungeon.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, she gets captured by the octopus, and then she gets sucked down into a little geyser. And if you leave the dungeon, which I did often to go replenish potions and stuff like that, she all of a sudden pops up, and you have to go through that cutscene every time you go back into the dungeon.
Yeah, that was a pain
Yeah,
in the
that's
ass.
true.
That annoyed me.
Right.
And I kind
it's
of
like,
get it because. Sorry, go on, Sam.
oh, no, well, just like real quick, you know, I said she was kind of useless, but she was like really, really useless because she doesn't help at all. It's just like, oh no, you lost your fairy or whatever. It's just like, okay, who cares? Like, she hasn't been doing anything.
Well, From plays the Link style silent protagonist in the entire game, so the fairy was simply there to speak on his behalf.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole point of it. Is I honestly think that might have been the parody of it, was that you have this fairy who's saying what the hero should be saying. Is why is the hero a silent protagonist if this fairy's so friggin' useless?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I
maybe
suppose
it's
the only
just-
thing that she does do is, like, when you've actually completed a dungeon, I think she does give you kind of a hint about where you need to go next, and that's about it.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of. I don't know. The
kind of.
fairy, like, yeah, it wasn't annoying because it didn't really do much, but also, like, why was it there at all if it wasn't going to do anything? Kind of like, I get that maybe it was a kind of a meta joke on the fairy trope, but still, like, then just don't have it. Like, at least have it do something, like be able to ask it for a hint or whatever. I don't know.
True. Maybe
I think they're very particular in this game about what everything did for a reason.
I think so. And I just wanted to circle back to something, actually, because, Brian, you talked about, picking from. But
Yeah.
right from the off at the start of the game, like, I was a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of choice that you can actually have for
You
your
could be a
character.
treasure chest.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I know.
You are met with this, like, it's several screens long, and you can
Yeah.
pick any one of these
And,
characters.
okay. So, yeah, I didn't explain that. When the game starts or when you start a save file, you can actually change your character to one of many, many characters. And I'm not going to get into them all because some of them are just NPCs you meet along the way. But other ones, like, you can turn into the sleeping bag that you can buy from the store. Or you can turn into a treasure chest. And you can do the whole game as just a random object. Or you can build something that looks like a monstrosity, because there's a character creator in this as well, as you build a pixel character in 3D. So you can even go ahead and build a pixel character in 2D, or as much 2D as you can, and it'll just turn like sideways and be 1 block thick as you traverse the land. So it's
I'm thinking,
amazing that they gave you so many options.
now I'm thinking that I could have, and spoilers, but I will play this game again. Maybe I'll play around with that creator sometime and actually create my very own Brian to actually go on his RPG adventure and just pretend it's Canada.
That's actually a secret unlock in the game. You have to be worthy to unlock it.
You have to have the most...
You have to beat the story, but you also have to beat the second story, which is called the From mode, where they double the amount of enemies and make everything harder.
No thanks.
Ooh.
So-
I just
Yeah,
thought...
this game is like...
I just thought you needed the girthiest sword possible, and then you somehow unlock Brian.
Yeah, well, the from mode, and I might as well explain that now because I've brought it up. But so when you beat the game, uh, after everything's done, you can start again. And I've never done this, but it does the from mode because from software. And all the dungeon like not bosses, monsters that are in dungeons will now become like on the overworld map, randomly placed throughout the entire world. More enemies on screen per block that you go to because you still do that Zelda style shift every little, like you shift from screen to screen as opposed to one smooth motion in the world. So the enemies will show up in multiple amounts, and your weapons actually have less attack power, so it becomes a lot harder.
Pass.
And again, this game has been touched by FromSoft, so it's already pretty hard to begin with.
That's wild to me as well, because I only know FromSoft from Dark Souls and the like. Not that I've ever played them, but that's what they're known for, right? And this is such a weird game considering what I know of their output. It's just, how did that happen?
Whoever came up with the idea is like some sort of design genius.
Yeah.
All right, the dungeons. I've been bitching about the fire dungeon, and I really want to lay into that one because that was a difficulty spike that kind of came out of nowhere. So there's 6 dungeons you have to beat, obviously, because you need to get 6 orbs, and you have to find the 6 sages. And that becomes your main quest. The first dungeon's almost like baby's first dungeon, and you just do it kind of tutorial-wise. And at the end of every dungeon, of course, you have the dungeon boss. And what's your favorite dungeon, and who's your favorite boss? Let's go with that. Let's see if we can't spark some conversation here.
I'll take this one. I really liked as much as I hated the fire dungeon, the one that came right after it, the wind temple or dungeon. Oh, sorry, man. The wind one was really fun. And I think maybe it was the relief of it not being as horrible as the fire dungeon. So I was just like, oh, now I'm back to having a decent time with this. And then the boss of that, I think, was also my favorite boss because it was like, he was really, it was like a giant version of that Dark Knight, which is kind of like from Zelda, they're called Dark Nuts, those things that like you can only attack from behind. Giggity. That it was just a giant version of that, so it's daunting when you get in there and you're like, oh fuck, I have to fight a giant one and I can't freeze it, so how am I going to deal with this thing? But there was kind of a trick to it, and once I figured out that trick, it was like, oh, this isn't bad at all, and it's actually kind of fun. So I'd say wind.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to. It's bad radio, but the Wind Temple is by far and away my favorite. I don't know. I mean, it was quite long, but kind of straightforward. Whereas the previous dungeon, the Fire Dungeon, was both long and just unnecessarily complicated.
Tedious.
Unnecessarily complicated. Sorry, and tedious. Yeah. It certainly was, and we'll get into why. So yeah, I had a lot of fun in the wind. It just made sense. I don't know, it just clicked with me. I don't know though. I mean, I kind of, yeah, the boss was kind of easy, but it didn't really leave much of an impression on me. Now I did like the boss fight with the bishop because I thought that had a very clever mechanic to figure out. Do you know what? This is going to be kind of a weird take considering how violently I was raging about it in our little Discord chat there. I think the dragon is a really good boss simply because it is challenging, but it is fair. There is a noticeable pattern. I mean, it had me stumped for fucking ages, and I was going off, and especially when my game crashed and I lost the entire all of my progress. You know what? Let me get this off my chest now because we are about to talk about the fire dungeon. Brian, for as much as you hate the fire dungeon, I got to the final boss of that dungeon, and you know, I was going at it, and I was taking, and it may have been my like 10th or 15th try, and the game just crashed, and then I realized with horror that I hadn't actually saved since the beginning of that dungeon, and I had to I was so close to just saying, you know what, guys, that's as far as I'm going to get this time. That's all I'm going to be able to talk about. I'm going to quit. But no, I stuck it out. carried on that night, did the dungeon, beat it, and then put the game down. I was just like, okay, I'm glad I did that. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool boss. Starts off very easy, but then just really ratchets up the challenge quite nicely.
No, I'm going to go twofer on this one for the bosses, but think wind or the aqua dungeons, because they're fairly straightforward. And I kind of like that, and we'll get into why the fire dungeon was absolute bullshit. But as for the bosses, early on in the game, call me nuts, but I know a lot of people don't like the worm in Legend of Zelda, like the Link to the Past,
the
or the one where you
Moldorm.
hit the tail and it bounces you down.
Thing. I hate that
I
one.
really enjoy that fight.
Ugh.
I like that one. So the worm at the beginning of the first dungeon was actually fun for me. I really enjoyed that fight. And the second one is the big block guy, and I don't know his name.
It was like a golem,
but the one where
I
you
think.
like take out his legs and you take out his arms and you take out his body. I really like that fight. That took me like I think 3 or 4 attempts to actually beat him, and that's when I first decided to leave the dungeon and start bringing potions in with me.
Yep, same.
And once I had a potion, all the enemies became somewhat easy because I had 3 kicks at the can to beat these guys because I had enough potions to make it through to the end.
Yeah, and that's something I wish I'd learned earlier on with this fucking dragon, because I did the same thing. Like, I was literally just trying to raw dog this game because I just assumed that I was good at it because, you know, I've played Zelda and I'm good at Zelda games. But, you know, this game is very much an old school Zelda game. Like, it's less accessible, it is more challenging. And I kind of love it for that. But yeah, once I'd gone out and actually got some potions, I completely agree. These bosses did become a lot more manageable. Not easy by any stretch.
No.
But I'm glad you brought up that golem boss there, because that's probably one of the cleverer bosses in the game. And I like a boss that has a bit of a trick to it. But you can fuck right off with that Moldorm take. I hate that fucking snake.
No, I don't like that one either. I would say... something really quick that I wanted to mention before I forget. You mentioned potions, Brian, and I think relatively early, within kind of the natural course, because like I didn't go out of my way to look things up or do too much extra exploring. I kind of just went point to point because I wanted to get as far or finish as much as I could. But I was able to, in the natural course of like kind of moving through the game, get 4 bottles, which I think, or jars or whatever, which I think was the max.
Nice.
And they give you one relatively quickly. So it's like, you know, if you really want to, that's there. If you really want, I guess, more of a challenge, you could try, you know, progressing through the game without any potions, which I wouldn't suggest it. Oof. But, you know, if you're good enough at
Hell
it,
no.
have at it, I guess.
Yeah. No, it was nice that basically a good chunk of this game was simply talking to everybody and exploring the new areas that you found, and you would find a bunch of side quests and a bunch of like secrets and bottles. And you said early on, if you talk to everybody in the first town of whatever it's called, Retrotopia or whatever, there is a guy who gives you a bottle at the top of the map right off the bat. And yeah, I didn't even think to fill the bottle up, but another one is you have to get water for somebody in the desert, and they give you another bottle to fill, and you can either use it without ever finishing that side quest, or, you know, you just fill the water and give it back to them. And then I can't remember where I got the third, but I never got the 4th bottle.
No, I didn't get the 4th bottle either, but that's...
Yeah, the 4th bottle was tucked away somewhere. That was the one that was, I think, the most out of the way, but I ended up being able to find it somehow. I don't know.
But that's one of the great things something that I love so much about this game is just there is so much packed in. There are so many little side quests, and you really are encouraged to talk to everyone. There is so much I did not find in this game. Like there's an entire screen, like, and you can see in your inventory, you can see like the page for all of the swords, and I was nowhere even close to halfway done on that.
Right.
And it just...
You got to find those small blocks, and you have to buy a bunch of the swords. I don't know if there's enough small blocks to buy all the swords.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe not.
I was actually holding out to see if I could get 20, because for 20 blocks you could buy one called Excalibur, and I was like, well, that's got to be the best one, right? So I was just kind of holding out, and I think I ended up with 16 or 17 of them, but
Same.
I didn't get enough, so I was like, whatever.
I mean,
I don't know if they were consumed.
And once I found the hero sword, I was just like, you know what, I'm good.
Yep.
Like this thing is a beast, especially when you can upgrade, as we've mentioned, the length, the girth, the attack power, and I got fucking beams that came out of it as well, which was really handy for managing crowds. And it's just obviously I had to play this relatively quickly to get ready for the show, but I think if I ever, when I play this game again, I'm seriously going to take my time with this thing and just poke into every corner and just see. It just has that joy of exploration that the early Zelda games had, when it's just like every screen had a secret on it, and it's just like, I can't wait to find out what's going on here. It's so cool.
Yeah, I think I'd like to, if I throw this back in. I didn't finish it. I got to the very end and had a tough enough time with the final boss last night that I just didn't. I was like, I'm gonna just put this down for now. But I could go back to it, and it might be worth going back out into the world and poking around to see if I can find anything else. Maybe getting one of those additional swords, maybe, because you can actually go to the blacksmith and you have a certain amount of points, it seems like, so you can upgrade whatever. So I just maxed out the length and the width so I could cover as much space as possible. But I might consider, you can reset. You have a set amount of points. I could reset it and kind of reconfigure my sword to do different things and maybe take another crack at the boss and be more successful.
It's a good point,
I
actually.
mean, you can have points. I thought you just had to spend gold to make your sword bigger.
No, I think it's like a set amount, right?
Yeah, there's a potential that each sword has, which is like a few thousand, and as you upgrade things, that potential goes down. So you kind of have to pick and choose which things to upgrade.
You're saying.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I thought you meant like you earned some sort of points and you could disperse them like it was a slider, games where you get ability points and then you add it to
No.
Okay. No, I was like, I didn't recognize that. But yeah, okay. Let's get into the Fire Temple, because I think it's time we get rid of some frustration.
I've already been there. Do I have to go back?
Yeah. So
yes,
I was a little bit behind you guys
did.
at this point. So yeah, you'd already finished the Fire Temple by the time I walked in. So I knew I was expecting something bullshitty. Especially since Sam said you have to make sure you grab the item in there, which you can easily miss. So I was being extra vigilant.
Which I missed.
Now, first clue this was a bullshit dungeon should have been the fact that there was a fairy fountain right outside the door of the fire temple. But the biggest problem with this game is when you die, you go back to the entrance, which is fine. But to get back to where you were, you had to circle around this one loop, because you had those red and blue blocks and the buttons that would go, alternate them from up and down. So you had to do this one loop to get back to the other side, then you had to do a second loop to get up to the top, and then if you died on the way, which I did a lot, you would go back to the beginning of the dungeon, and you'd have to repeat that stupid circuit all over again.
Yep.
Oh my God, that is exactly it. And it just completely resets. Like this game does a great thing for the most part. Like you're in a dungeon, you die, but every door you've opened is open. Like all the progress you've made is saved. You can pretty much just get back to where you need to be immediately. But for some reason, the fire dungeon just resets all of your progress with these switches. So you need to go and activate them in sequence just to get back to where you needed to be, which means you're just in as much danger as you were before. You can't rush it. You need to do the whole thing again. And the only saving grace is that I had done this dungeon over so many times that I knew the path like the back of my hand, and it did get easier.
Yes.
But that is why when my game crashed and I realized I needed to do it all over again, can you imagine how crushed my soul was?
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not just that. In the course of traveling, you have the wizards where you need to use a reflect spell to block their attack on you before you get the shield that blocks their attack for you. And
wait, what? What? You've got a shield that did that?
Yeah, one of the shields, as you upgrade your shields, you find this shield, I believe, in the fire dungeon, if I remember correctly.
I never
found
the
fire dungeon.
I never found an upgrade
Did
for
that
my
reflect
shield.
it back or just block it?
No, No, it just blocked it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Still,
Just kind of same as you could find a shield that would block the wind blowing in the wind shrine.
Yeah.
I think I only ever got a shield that I started with. I don't remember
yeah.
ever
You could-
upgrading
well,
my shield.
Right out,
You
that's
can buy
outside
the
of the
iron
fire.
shield at the
Yeah.
you can buy the iron shield at the first town. Then the rest you find along your route, including the final shield, which I can't remember. I think it's the hero shield, which blocks the Dark Bishop's attacks.
Oh, come on.
Which I don't think I
Yeah,
got that
so
one, 'cause
that's what I was telling you
not
about.
able
Is
to
like I
block.
left the dungeon at the end to go grab that shield.
Yep.
Fuck's sake. That would have made things so much easier.
So, anyways, I'm getting back to my point here in the fire dungeon. So, you need to use magic. Like it's one green bottle of magic out of your I don't know how many 10 bottles you have at this point, and it works like the heart system does. And that's fine because you can use that over and over because those magicians constantly drop green apples which replenish your magic. Problem is there's these tentacly little things that if they hit you, they suck the magic out
Yeah,
of you
fuck those.
and knock your health down. Now, there's 2 levels of them. The red ones, which are really weak, and then they got the purplish blue ones, which are stronger and take all your magic on one hit, as well as everything but half a heart. Fun point, they can't kill you.
Right. Yeah, I
But
noticed that.
without magic, you can't carry on because you can't block the wizard's attack anymore, and now you're up fuck creek without a paddle. And that's what kept happening to me is, one little mistake, or you walk through a door and it walks right into one for you. And,
Yep.
oh, God.
I did not notice.
Long story short, I had to bring elixirs through that dungeon.
I did not notice that that's what those things did, and that explains so much now.
Yeah.
I know
happens
the
quick.
It
exact-
took me a little bit as well.
I know the exact enemy you're talking about. I had no idea because I was just thinking, yeah, I'm losing everything so quickly, and I don't feel like I'm using spells that much. Like you have to use that reflect spell like every other room, it feels, but it doesn't really take that much of a toll on your magic.
No, it's just one.
which is
and you
nice.
usually gain, if you use the reflect spell once, you can usually gain back 2 or 3 magic spots because each one of those enemies is going to drop a green apple for you.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah,
I
that's
did also-
another mystery solved.
Oh yeah, and I did also appreciate that when items were on the ground, you could extend and even the non-powered up version of the sword extended pretty far. You could just use your sword to pick up items, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I disliked about the sword was you could swing the sword and change its direction to do a swipe more than just a stab, because the normal attack is just a stab. Problem was it wasn't very responsive, so sometimes you'd be trying to hit an enemy and do a swipe, and the enemy would be on your side as opposed to in front of you, and you wouldn't swipe, and next thing you know, the enemy bonks you, and then you lose your big sword.
I had that all the time. 100%. It's just because it has that initial attack, which is literally just a thrust forward that you have to be really well lined up for, unless you've got a big old sword to play with. And the ability to swing the sword for most of them is an actual upgrade that you need to buy. And even then, it's just you actively have to roll the thumbstick around to do it. And
yeah,
I would find myself, rather than swinging the sword, I'd be moving myself in the direction I was trying to swing it, so that then I'm facing away from the enemy. And that's just not helpful.
No. One kind of exploit that I noticed is that sometimes, and it didn't always work, it must have been a timing thing that sometimes I got and sometimes I didn't. You could kind of stand next to a half wall and swing across, and sometimes your sword would reach through and sometimes it wouldn't. So I would kind of just park myself in a corner where I was safe and try to swing around a corner and get enemies, and that sometimes worked. Yeah.
I did that.
Oh, one of my favorite things about this game is how useless the Pegasus boots are.
Yeah, so dumb.
Because you got the dash
sword's
thing,
too
but you
long.
only dash as far as your sword. And if your sword's at max length, you're going to run 3 steps and hit a wall, and you've made no progress.
Right,
That's
that was
true.
fucking stupid.
That was
it was
dumb.
never used
That was
hilarious
dumb.
because you knew they did it on purpose.
Well, there was.
I mean,
don't know.
maybe, but it feels like a
Yeah.
flaw.
I think it does too. It felt like a flaw.
The whole game's a parody, so I don't know, call it social commentary or whatever you want, but that I believe was put in there as because the Pegasus boots aren't required for any part of the game, so they're only nice to have. Therefore, having them in a way that's pretty much useless, it seems more like haha, you got the Pegasus boots, but so what? You can't use them sort of joke.
See, that's where we've got to be kind of careful, really, because it's just like, how much do we ascribe to parody and how much do we ascribe to game design?
Yeah. Exactly.
Go on, Sam.
Sorry, I think it's just bad design because it was really useless.
I don't, because they're not. If it was meant to be used in part of the game where you had to use them, otherwise you couldn't progress, I would agree with you. But because, first off, you didn't need to find them, and secondly, they aren't used in any situation that's absolutely critical, I feel like it was meant to be a joke.
Yeah, but still, that's like...
The same way with naming all the magic the wrong name.
I guess. Yeah, I feel like that's a good argument, and I see your point. I am leaning more Sam's way, but you've partly convinced me that it's possible.
It's like as if you've told me a joke, but it's like not a funny joke.
Like, I can agree that you may not find it funny, but I really honestly believe it was done on purpose.
Okay.
It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible.
There was, and I don't know if you guys found it, but there was kind of like a side quest type deal with the dash boots that was like a running course, and you had to try to like navigate while dashing, because you basically dash without the sword, and then you could change direction like mid dash. So it was like a timing and precision thing to try to like get the lowest time around this, and it was hard to do. So I tried it a couple times. So like whatever this is, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and I kind of feel that way. That's not necessarily a fault of the game, because I kind of feel like that on a lot of games. It's just like if there are little side missions, and it's probably worth a piece of apple, which is your health, much like the piece of hearts are in Zelda. And there was another one as well where it's kind of like a tower defense kind of mode where you're putting up all these towers and defenses and trying to beat off hordes of enemies.
Well, that's fun though. I didn't find that one.
That is fun. I mean, it is, but it's one of those things. Just like, I could probably spend hours playing this and kind of forget what I was doing. Obviously, we were on the clock there, but I do kind of. Sometimes I engage with that stuff, and sometimes I'm just like, you know what, this is breaking the flow too much for me. I want to get back to what I was doing.
It's like a Fort Condor type thing.
Yeah,
you can spend a bunch of time.
Well, it's a tower defense for sure.
Yeah. That's fun though.
But well, let's shift gears. What did you guys like? We glossed over the graphics at the beginning of the episode, obviously with the lighting and all that stuff. What do you think of the overall kind of 3D, 2D aesthetic they're going for, where all these characters are just pixel characters done in 3D? Do you think it really works?
Yes, I do.
Do you think it holds up today?
I do. I found it incredibly jarring at first, if I'm honest, but only in so much as that the game presents itself. And again, I can't help but make the comparison, because in every conceivable way, this game wants you to think of The Legend of Zelda. So when I was visually not playing a Legend of Zelda game, but all the other aspects were there, it was just like, it did throw me off a bit. But I thought it was very clever the way that these are kind of the sprites that you would see on an 8-bit RPG game, just made, almost just made flesh, just made bigger, just made 3D, but still very much in that style. Like, as you said, your Dragon Quest and things like that. The characters all look like that, except in HD, you know?
Yeah, nobody really has body movements.
Yeah,
no, but
I think that's the reason it works so well, is because you don't have to animate any of the characters.
I'm sure they make a joke of that as well at some point in the game. It's just like that strange little walking animation that characters do when they're just standing in place in an RPG. I'm sure they make a joke about that as well.
Oh, they probably did.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is... maybe you can attribute this to a joke too, Brian, but like some of the bosses were challenging because they can rotate in 3D space and your guy could not. Like, like the golem and I don't think the dragon. Oh, the dragon could move diagonal. Like, you can't move diagonal and you're kind of slow. So that's, and you are limited to that kind of, cardinal direction movement, which some of the enemies are not.
Yeah, I don't know if that was meant to make it harder or if it was meant to make commentary again.
I don't know if I agree with that. I'm sure I could move in just about any direction I wanted.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't turn. You couldn't rotate. is what I mean. Like,
even
you can
even
move.
if you're going in an angle, you're facing a certain direction. You're not facing the angle.
Okay, so it's less a traversal thing. It's more for like weapons. So what you're saying is basically when you're using the bow and arrow, say you're only using one of those for like 4 directions.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That was tricky for that golem boss. I agree with that.
You know what, I'm gonna say something right now. Fuck the bow and arrow and those targets in the dungeons you have to hit from like a ridiculously far away shot.
It's not even that it's far away. It's that you have to be exactly precise with where you're standing because it arches. What the fuck is up with that? I suppose it's 3D.
You're
I guess
in 3D
fine.
space.
It's 3D space, but like it made the bow and arrow almost like unusable if you're trying to hit anything small, or it just wasn't. It wasn't a useful item, and I really only used it to hit those targets when required. And there was a point, and I think the final tower, where there was a room where you had to hit 3 targets, and I kept fucking missing them, and then I ran out of arrows because I never found a bigger quiver, and so I could only ever carry 15. I had to actually leave the dungeon, go buy some more arrows, and then come back and do that room.
That absolutely happened to me on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a place actually close to the first town. You'll find it where all those people, like, are the guys standing in front of the hole and stuff like that. Apparently, if you go in there, you can upgrade your quiver.
Well, great.
I mean, a lot of the upgrades were actually in the dungeons as well. You'd usually find a bombable wall, which you could then go through. And there's just some random dude just chilling out in there, just like, hey, do you want a bigger bomb bag? And I'm just like,
absolutely.
I guess, but like, why are you here?
Right.
Yeah, why are you living in a dungeon behind a sealed wall, and how are you still alive?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
a
just like,
Zelda.
dude, are you doing okay? It is.
Yeah, that's a Zelda homage, because there were bombable walls with just like a random dude in there in some of those dungeons. So it was just kind of like, oh, I see what they're doing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I want to change my answer from earlier on. I don't think I mentioned the bow. The bow is my least favorite item.
That is absolutely my least favorite. It's
like,
sucks.
did you ever use it to fight an enemy?
No.
No. Except for the golem.
Boomerang I used because boomerang was good if an enemy would charge at you. You throw the boomerang and knock him down, or those stupid eyeballs that freeze you.
Oh, fuck those things.
The boomerang was good for those because you could throw the boomerang and move, like, say you throw it east and you move north. The boomerang would arc to come back to you, so you could actually plan it to go behind the enemy and hit them so that he didn't look at you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you know what I did for enemies that would charge you, like those fucking knights? Just, if you lay a bomb, they cannot run through the bomb.
Yeah, and then they get blown up by it. Yeah.
Yeah, they literally get stuck on the bomb. It blows up, lay another bomb, and rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just used the freeze spell and then chop them with one shot of the sword.
I mean, I didn't
your
always
have the magic for that.
Yeah.
And I had a fuck ton of bombs. Like, I had like 40 bombs by the end of the game. So.
Yeah, same.
Oh man! All right, I guess we're going to get a little bit into the end of this here because I want to talk about the banger of a soundtrack. I love the music in this. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very epic to what they're trying to present. Yeah. It feels like you're on a journey in this music, especially the overworld theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest,
it was
not a million miles away from. Yeah. Well, I was literally sitting there playing this game, and the wife caught wind of me playing it, and was just like, she literally said, "Fuck, it even sounds like The Legend of Zelda." And I was like, I know, right? Like, it does. I mean,
there's a reason for that.
Well, exactly. And the music is great. It feels new and fresh, but also very, very familiar, which is again kind of the MO of the entire game, I guess. But yeah, the music again just drove that sense of adventure and exploration. Like the best kind of games like this do. It was very, very good. I enjoyed it a lot.
There was, like I said, certain points in the game where it went from Legend of Zelda to Dragon Quest in my mind. Like, I think inside the castle felt very Dragon Quest-esque as compared to the rest of the game.
Especially because you could just walk around the castle and like open up doors and just kind of walk around. You could go outside onto the kind of roof parapet, even though it didn't really do anything. It was just at least there. You could kind of walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I haven't played enough Dragon Quest yet to be able to make that comparison. Maybe if I did, it would have hit more. But
possibly. I've
still only played the third one.
Man, you really got to play the 11th. Don't do them in order, just do them.
Well, I haven't. I started with the third one.
Fair enough. Actually, the third one is technically the prequel, ergo the first one.
Yeah.
Hence why it was released, and it said play 1 and 2 after. So
I did. I remember now. So technically, I need to play 1 and 2 next because the game has told me so.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into some wrap-up questions here. Do you think this game would succeed, like on modern consoles today? Like if it was never made before 2026, do you think this game would have received more praise with our more astute retro desires than it did back in 2000 whatever it came out?
I think so. I mean there are definitely indie games now that are tapping into that nostalgic vibe, so I think this would have, I suppose the risk is that it just going to be lost in the shuffle? But I think it could hold its own.
Yeah, I mean, what, Mina the Hollower is coming out in like, what, a week? I mean, that's very much a Zelda-like top-down adventure.
I keep hearing this name. I've no idea what that is.
It's the one, I was like, I lost my mind. When the Switch 2 was announced, I think they had it as part of the Direct as an upcoming game, and it's like a Game Boy-looking little mouse girl, and it's a Zelda-like.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to play it.
That looks like Link's Awakening, and I want it in my life.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam, you just made a sale.
Yeah, there we go. I want a commission.
Oh, exactly. There you go. We'll start poking the company.
Yeah.
You know who he is? He's Sam.
Yeah.
Sam the Beagle guy.
Yeah, the one who suggester of games.
Yeah. He got you one sale.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, all right. I think this is one of the best forgotten exclusives that consoles have ever had. The fact that it was so obscure kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really hurt me personally, but I think this game could have branched into more parody-like games, but it just never got its due. So the genre kind of died out with it, and I would have loved to see more of these types of games where they took another classic like NES or Super Nintendo trope, and then they turned it into this 3D kind of parody game. But it's never to be. I think it belongs on PlayStation Plus Premium right now, though, because with all the PS3 games they have, and the fact that this is an exclusive, and the fact that Sony and FromSoft are very tight, I have no idea why this isn't on PlayStation Plus.
You think our good friend Mario was like, you better not release this game ever again, or else, get litigious with it. Like this is this is like Zelda Pal World or what?
Could be, mate. I mean, that is not an unrealistic take, is it? I mean, I don't know.
No,
it's a sad thing, really, isn't it? Because there are so many good games kind of trapped on the PS3. Yep. And I guess we just saw Metal Gear Solid 4, did that just get re-released finally?
I think it did.
No, it's still locked on PS3.
I thought it came out on one of the collections, or it is coming out on one of the collections,
I think the not Master Chief Collection, the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2 is going to have it.
Yeah, that's what it is coming. It's just for the longest time it was locked.
I still have my copy. I still have the special collector's edition. And when I got rid of my original PS3, I was like, this is a collector's edition. I'm keeping this one. So it's the only PS3 game I actually kept.
Good idea.
Oh, look, there is pre-order. Metal Gear Solid 4 and Peacemaker.
There's Alan doing shopping while live.
I want commission on that one too. By the way, Konami. So then I just sold two games.
I'm pretty sure I brought up Metal Gear Solid 4. You can't take that one.
Well,
that one's my commission. Damn it!
All right, you can't get commission on something you buy.
Fuck you! I make the rules.
Like a
It's a
10% off
British.
coupon.
It's a British thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't understand.
Double dipping.
All right, so do you guys have anything else to talk about on this game, or are we ready to wrap it up?
We can
Wrap up the length and the width.
Wrap up the length and the width and take them both home. Oh, that's
Stab it
cool.
in.
I mean, there's literally so much in this game to talk about, but I didn't experience it all, so I can't.
Yeah, well, this is something to be played rather than like overly dissected.
Absolutely.
I mean, the joy is in exploring in this game, like taking the time to go around and look for stuff like that. The Forest of Illusions at the beginning, it shows you a path you can go through to get to the dungeon. Like you use the reveal spell, but you can also take a few lefts and rights and get some items in there. So if you know where to go, or you explore a little bit, or trial and error, you'll find some stuff.
Oh, see,
So
I did not do that.
Definitely a game worth playing. So if we're ready to wrap it up, I'm gonna give it to Sam first, because I think Sam has a more, let's call it, honest take. Sam?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, first off, this is the first, get this, guys. This is the first PS3 game I've ever played native on a PS3. I missed the PS3 entirely. I did not have one, did not really play one. Was not as into gaming at the time when the PS3 was huge. So, and thank you to Sergeant Ombre, patron and listener and friend of the show and friend of me. He lent me his PS3 so that I could play this, and I picked up a couple other, less expensive PS3 games that I've never played before, and hope to get some use out of this before I return it. So thank you. That was it. That was all I wanted to say about that. But going into this game, I mean, you can definitely see the kind of roots, or like the DNA of what is now the kind of like retro modern movement, the 2D HD or 2.5D graphics, and this is kind of like the first interpretation of that, right? Because you have definitely sprite looking characters, but blocky and 3D, like a Minecraft looking type deal, and I liked it. But it does feel dated now, because nowadays, like, yeah, you'd have that kind of realistic looking or high def background with the fade, and your pixel sprites that look gorgeous, but they are kind of like a 2D that kind of pop on the screen. So I think the style has definitely evolved a lot since this game came out. But graphically, like when you're booting up this game, you see all the different companies that worked on this. It's like, yes, Atlas and From Software, like they're responsible for kind of the gameplay itself. But I can't remember what they were, but there were a bunch of different screens that showed up for different graphics, companies that I think were more involved in like the art style and the graphical design. And some of the things that we take for granted today, like some of the shimmer and the oversaturation at times and reflection and different ways that light plays on shadows and things, this was really good looking and kind of revolutionary at the time. Like it's kind of wild to think that these things like didn't really exist until kind of around this time in the PS3. So I will fully praise the graphics in the presentation of this game. I thought it was really good looking. As far as the gameplay, I found it frustrating. And Fire Temple aside, that whole section sucked. I mean, it was just so long and just arduous, and like you'd get through those rooms and then you'd get fucked over by one of those stupid tentacle shits. That sort of thing sucked. Having to like, and then something we didn't mention about the Fire Temple, once you left the dungeon, you had to go find that fucking sage, and it was like some bastard kid, and you had to like go talk to every single fucking sage up to that point and remember where they all were, and I couldn't. So like that sucked. And then I couldn't and then I didn't get that fire wand that was only useful for burning trees, and that was tucked away in the fucking Fire Temple, and you didn't. So that's part of my gripe, is like, yeah, there were some items and some things like magic spells and things that you would get along the way, but they didn't flow naturally in the context of the dungeon you were in. Like in a Zelda game, you get a hook shot, but you can't explore the whole dungeon until you get the hook shot, and then the hook shot opens the rest up, and then the boss usually requires some sort of hook shot mechanic to defeat it, and then you open more of the overworld map with it once you get out. This game didn't really have that. Like in a limited sense it did, but I really missed that, unique item in dungeon helps you complete dungeon and then helps open more of the world. That really wasn't the case here. So, and I don't know if that was on purpose or that just requires more thought, which I guess maybe that wasn't part of the ultimate goal of this game. Maybe it was more of a visual type endeavor. So that bothered me. Some of the gameplay bothered me where I would have difficulty getting my sword to go kind of in the right direction with enemies all around. And there were some exploits of trying to kind of like slash through walls, and that goes to part of the difficulty. I just don't enjoy it, where enemies are just kind of like randomly moving and you can't really predict where they're going to go, and you'll be focusing on one thing and get hit by something else. That's just a get good kind of thing, which I guess I just didn't have enough time to spend with it. So sometimes that felt kind of crappy. And the final boss, I got there. And I spent a lot of time on this game, but I couldn't finish it. I gave it a few tries last night and just got so frustrated. I was just like, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put it in the box. I'm going to put it on the shelf so that I don't like really start to hate this. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it was fun and it was cool to look at. And it is, I do like these kind of like Zelda likes. Like we've got Mina the Hollower coming out. Like if you've ever played any of Tunic, that is also a very difficult kind of top down Zelda like. So it does have its place. I do think it should be available. I think people should be able to play this game, not only to see what the deal is with the graphics, but the gameplay. I think a lot of people would enjoy it, especially if you like Zelda and you like Zelda likes. I'm gonna go ahead and score this before I go on too long, because I did have a lot to kind of just get out there frustration wise, but I did want to give the game some praise. I'm gonna go ahead and give this like a 7 out of 10. I do think I want to go back and I want to maybe look at my loadout and try to take another crack at that final boss, but I don't know if I'd ever play this again all the way through. I'd have to think about it, but for now, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 it is. And Sam sets the tone. Alan, what do you think?
I mean, there's a lot there that Sam said that I agree with. There's some stuff that I don't agree with. I mean, like Sam, I wasn't a PS3 gamer. I mean, I didn't get a PS3 till well after its heyday. And literally just to play some of the games that are locked on there, like your Metal Gear Solid 4. So this was absolutely a game that I had never heard of. I'd never seen anywhere. I'd never heard anyone talking about. And that's really a shame. It is a shame that this game is locked away on the PS3 and is pretty much inaccessible. Because what it is and what it does so well is just, as you said off the top, it is a love letter to that Legend of Zelda style of gameplay. And when I popped this thing in, I was ready to sort of not hate it so much, but I was just like, all right, this is just a rip-off. And that's what I was thinking at first, like, is this just a rip-off? But it's not, because it has so many kind of the attention to detail and the loving little pokes at some of the tropes that the game does about the genre that it's trying to represent are just so well done and so genuinely humorous that it got under my skin, and it's just like, it's a very, very competent example of a game series that I love so much. So I'm just like, well, if you're doing everything that I love so much this well, how can I not love you? And I love this game. I mean, visually it is stunning, and I do agree that it kind of paved the way for a lot of visual styles for retro games that we're still seeing today, I'll stand adamant on my point that Zelda 1 remade like this would go fucking hard, and I would love to see that happen. And it's musically sounds fantastic. It just has that epic score going right the way through it. I mean, the gameplay, it does suffer ever so slightly. There are a few design choices, a few design omissions that I feel kind of hamper it and make it lesser than The Legend of Zelda. I don't know if that's something that I can punish this game for, or if that's praise for Zelda. That's the best, right? I mean, it's the best for a reason. But I did find some of the combat a little finicky at times, and that does hurt it a little bit. But everything else, it does spectacularly. The dungeons, I'm not really going to ding it for a dungeon that is difficult, because that is a staple. Ocarina of Time has the water temple. This had the fire temple. You're always going to find that one dungeon that just really just gets on your nerves, and you have that sense of dread for every time you replay it. And I'll definitely replay it, because there is so much, again, of this game that I just didn't get to see, and I really, really want to. It is a testament to this game that there is just so much you can stumble across. And what I didn't realize is a lot of it is time-based. Like, a lot of these side missions can disappear when you get to another dungeon, so it really encourages you to explore between dungeons and see what's changed in the world, which, I could see being an annoying mechanic, but I, for one, find it quite endearing. Yeah, just a genuinely humorous, tongue-in-cheek, loving little poke at your old retro RPGs that is just done very, very capably. Loved it. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I think I'm going up there. I will definitely play this again. It's the Zelda game that never was, and I'm glad it was brought to my attention, because it just gives me a different perspective on. It's a new Zelda game as far as I'm concerned. It's one I've never played before.
There you go. That's a great score. So it's 7 width and 8.5 length on the score so far. Where am I going to come in? Right in between, on top, below? We'll find out, because it's my turn. So, wrapping this up, the best aspect of the game is the design choice to make a 3D, 2D game. And that's kind of what this is. This is taking the idea of the 2D Zelda dungeon crawlers and turning it into 3D to pretend it's modernized while still keeping the pixelated graphics. I honestly thought when I first saw that was a neat game mechanic, or a neat design choice. And the game looks gorgeous. They figured out how to make that PS3 sing graphically, because like the dungeons, the shadows, the reflections on the floor, the blooming, the water, all this stuff is just outstanding. It's bright, it's colorful, it's beautiful. When it needs to be dark, or you're in the fire dungeon, it's depressing because you're in the fire dungeon. It's just absolutely eye candy, and I love the parody idea of the video game. I mentioned it already. I really wish this became kind of a genre from FromSoft, or from Silicon Studios, that they would make these parody games based on retro video game tropes. And I really think this game probably would have been better today than when it came out. Although I don't know if, like, I think it was Alan who said it might have just got lost in the shuffle of so many games coming out nowadays. So it's kind of a hard one. Honestly, biggest flaw of this game is the gameplay itself. The sword mechanic is rough, and 90% of the time I got hit was because the character wouldn't face the direction I wanted. You can't turn, like when you have your shield up, you can't turn and, let go of your shield, turn and put your shield back up. It just doesn't work that quick. Sam mentioned the items were pretty much not used in a way that was reflective of the dungeons. He mentioned the hook shot, and all I can think of is that eyeball monster from Link to the Past.
Oh, yeah.
You needed to take the hook shot and bring the eye out. That would have been a great thing. Or finishing the dungeons with the items you get in the dungeon. But again, that requires that you actually find the item on your way through, which, again, Sam had mentioned that you had to go back and find the fire rod. Only reason I didn't miss it is because I knew I shouldn't miss it, so I was extra vigilant in making sure I got it before I left there. So yeah, there is some flaws in the gameplay itself. I think some were purposeful design choices, like the Pegasus boots. I think it was meant to be a parody of the fact that you have this giant sword you really need to charge at an enemy. But again, it wasn't used outside of the minigame, so I believe it was a parody choice rather than a bad design choice. This game belongs on PlayStation Plus Premium. I honestly believe they would find quite the audience nowadays if it was actually released on PlayStation Premium. It's a beefy priced retro game. Like, it's almost a full price PS3 game from back in the day to buy this used. So it's held some value. It does have a cult following. Again, not a big sales record for this one. I mean, 16,000 units sold in Japan is nothing. And 160 in North America is, again, it's nothing in the scope of these 2 million in 2 days games that are coming out nowadays. This game, I don't even think you need, like, the idea of releasing it today, I was thinking, would you really update the graphics? I don't think it actually would need it. I think the graphics, like, pixel graphics hold up through all eras, and this uses 3D pixels, so somehow it manages to still compare to games of today because it's done in such a cartoony style that you don't really need, fancy shaders and, textures and stuff like that. You can keep the cartoony aesthetics, and all the reflections and the shadows and stuff like that really make the game pop. I think if you ever have a chance to try this, I think everybody should try this, especially if you're a Zelda fan. I think this just does it justice in a way that doesn't disrespect Zelda, but kind of puts a shine on some of those funny things about Zelda that we all laugh at, like, the sword and the sword and the the different types of shields you have to find, and finding all the dungeons and stuff like that. I think it does a really good job of parodying it and paying homage to it. I love the exploration of this. I love the fact that you can kind of walk around, like, not anywhere at the beginning. Obviously, you need items to move forward. But I love, as you explore, nothing's unattainable by the end of the game. You can walk around and you can fight enemies that are stronger than you. It'll take a few more hits, but again, you have that gigantic ass sword, so if it takes you 3 hits now, like, once you get a bunch of money, and you get tons of money in the dungeons, that 3-hit sword will turn into a 1-hit sword, and then you find the better swords, and it just increases and becomes so much better at that point. I'm definitely going to play this again in the future. I think this might be one of those games that I have a hankering for once every 5 or 10 years. So it's going to be, a lifelong staple to my PS3 collection. And maybe I'll even put it in my casket when they bury me. I'm going to go between you guys. I already wrote down my score before we started talking, and I'm going to go a solid 8 out of 10 on this one. It's great. The difficulty in that fire dungeon kind of sours me to want to play it again, because everything up until then was smooth sailing. That fire dungeon almost broke me. Like, it almost broke Alan. Like, Sam, was pissed off at it. It is kind of like the wart on the rest of this otherwise stellar game. So that's where I'm going to run. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with, again, most of what you've said there, especially the playing this game again. Like, I can see myself playing this game again. I can see this getting into a fairly regular rotation just when I fancy a very funny little adventure there. I'm really glad you brought this game to my attention, Brian, because if not for that, I never, ever would have played this game.
Yeah,
and that
kind of a benefit of doing this podcast.
Oh,
is,
100%.
I got these games I want to play, and I'm just like, well, guys, poke, poke, poke. Can we play this, please? Poke, poke, poke.
Oh yeah, like literally every time I suggest a game for the podcast, it's because I've been dying to play it. It's very selfish.
Oh yeah, and that's why we each get one selfish pick.
Yep. It's a democracy.
Except for Sam. Everything Sam wants to do is Pokemon related.
No,
What's up next week, Sam?
Wait. Oh.
What's up next week?
Oh, yeah. Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pokemon.
Detective
Or
Pokemon.
Detective Pikachu.
Detective
That's
Pokemon.
To be fair, that's more of a, like, I guess, puzzle game
I know,
with a Pokemon skin on it, but...
Yeah, I understand. I'm poking a little, ribbing you a little bit here.
Ironically enough, a game that I've been dying to play for a long time, so that worked out nicely for me.
I'm about 15 minutes into it. It's going to be a hard one for me.
Wow.
Really? Oh, I liked my first few minutes with it.
I'm going to sit down and like give the old sailor go this weekend and see how far I can get into it, but I just haven't had time this week. I mean, my car broke down, and then, I got it fixed, and then I go see people, and then we have trivia on Tuesdays, so...
Oh, yeah.
I'll find time.
That sounds...
Not to mention it was hot as balls the last few days.
Wow. That's a problem for next week.
No, it isn't. It's a problem now. All right, thank you, everybody, for listening to Retrotopia. Alan is trying to get me to end the show there. He's been sending me messages of, would you just shut up and end it? So we're going to go with that. So thank you, everybody, for
you fucking liar.
listening as always. Thank you, everybody, for listening as always. And remember, if you fall apart, you can always put yourself back together. Thank you and good night.
Hi there, everyone. We here at Retrotopia couldn't do what we do without the support of our Patreons. And to that effect, we would like to shout out the heroes at our hero tier. So a huge Retrotopia thank you from all of the hosts here to The Fletchman, Kakarina of Tim, Schnitzel, Peter Brukers, Isaias, Ryan Semke, Guy Who Does Things, Joe Frigger, Shadowblaze 511, Dan Torma, Brian Heng, Sharkbite, Brian Spritzer, Ovindley, Shane's World, Brother Retro, H, Raging Demon, Old Man Gamer, Game Genius, Dylan Jacobson, The Big Deal, Mr. Blobbertstein, King Hooli III, Calin Higas, Radmac, Fallen Snow Kiku, Stud Still Smash, Sergeant Ombre, Big Brown Dog, Jack Datchler, Unbuckled Cape, Wildcard, Super Dave, Sir Busts a Lot, Big Kid 782, David Hendley, Chris Kaplane, J Nasty 15, Because 19, Randy Berridge, Makeshift Money, and Andrew Wright. So thanks as always for your support, guys. It truly means the world to us and means we can keep doing this little thing that we love so much. Game on.